With Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart tackling the multiverse last year, it's plenty reasonable to assume that the sequel will have even more interdimensional shenanigans. And with the game's final cutscene, we are left to wonder where the series is going to go from here. And with a bit of imagination, combined with the game's credits, which I'm pretty sure some of it is actually canon, but I've came up with an idea, a pitch rather, for the next game. I know I usually don't do videos like this, but it is something different from what I typically do. Just keep in mind that whatever I mention in this video, it's all just one big fun idea that I came up with. And it's one that might not wind up happening whatsoever, simply due to how ambitious it is. But hey, this is Insomniac Games we're talking about, so anything is possible. Well, in terms of games anyways. So, after replacing Clank's arm, which kinda resembles Rivet's, Ratchet, Clank, Rivet, and Kit start the cleanup process for their respective dimensions and get to know each other a bit more before using the Dimensionator for what's likely their next adventure. Now, at this point, we could assume that they're going to the Lombax dimension, given how much the Lombaxes were brought up throughout Rift Apart's story. On top of Ratchet asking Clank if he'll help him find the Lombaxes after this adventure is over. So just imagine this. Both duos arrive in the Lombax dimension. They're excited to finally see their kind after years of wanting to do so, although in Ratchet's case, he's kinda distanced himself from that goal after the decisions that he's had to make in the past, especially after seeing what happens when someone obsesses with the very same goal. But throughout Rift Apart, he starts to reconsider it now that there's a much safer way of doing so. Upon arrival, Ratchet recalls the name Mags, who we first hear about after collecting all those lorbs from planet Savali, which chronicle Mags' attempts at mapping every dimension in existence, a task that was given to him by Caden, also known as Ratchet's dad, and also the keeper of the original Dimensionator. Mags was put in charge of finding a safe dimension where the Lombaxes could flee to after Tachyon was given full access to all the Lombaxes' technology by Azimuth, who was actually warned against doing by Caden. And what happened? Well, pretty much everything went to heck, and then Azimuth was forbidden from joining the Lombaxes in the Lombax dimension. Anyways, throughout Mags' dimensional travels, he's ventured to various dimensions, some of which were direct references to other PlayStation IPs. Jak and Daxter's was described as being similar to Ratchet's dimension, with Mags describing what he saw as Jak firing his morph gun and spinning around every other second, while Daxter rides on his shoulder doing live commentary. Sly Cooper's was described as being colorful, with Mags witnessing Sly pulling off a heist, and even describing him as resembling a Lombax. Now, I don't know why he would think Sly resembled a Lombax, given his tail more so resembles Rivet's. And that's not what we currently know about the Lombaxes from Ratchet's dimension, which brings into question whether or not Rivet is actually from another dimension, considering the only other female Lombax in the series, Angela Cross, doesn't even have a tail to begin with. I really just went down that road, didn't I? For all we know, maybe Angela had an accident, which resulted in her losing the tail. Who really knows at this point, but we could literally spend all day on just this one subject. It's just that strange. Maybe I'll save that subject for another day, but for now, let's get back to the dimensions that Mags was mapping. Other dimensions that referenced PlayStation IPs included Sackboy and Knack, whereas more series appear during actual gameplay with the use of the Rhino 8, which isn't just the most powerful weapon in the game, but it summons characters and items from other dimensions, or what I would like to call the PlayStation Universe. We have the Thunderjaw and Ravager from Horizon Zero Dawn, Nathan Drake's Jeep from Uncharted 4, Sly Cooper himself alongside Bentley, the Cooper van, and Jak and Daxter also making appearances. And this got me thinking, what if a recurring theme in the next game was focused on our duos visiting these other dimensions after meeting Mags, only to find out that something's not quite right in each dimension, and this something somehow originates from Ratchet's dimension, resulting in Ratchet, Clank, Rivet, and Kit having to join forces with the heroes of their respective dimensions to put a stop to whatever's the cause for all the chaos. Just imagine playing in the world of Sly Cooper, and the Ratchet characters would become cel-shaded as a result of the effects this dimension has on everyone and everything. And just for fun, maybe this will be how Sly is finally freed from Egypt. Hey, come on, a guy can dream, can't I? And it might be a bit jarring seeing Aloy interact with Ratchet, as he would appear very out of place in the world of Horizon. Then again, that didn't seem to stop Kingdom Hearts from having Sora, Donald, and Goofy from appearing alongside Jack Sparrow. But it'd still be cool to see Ratchet take on at least some of these machines, especially since Ratchet and Clank already deal with robots on a regular basis. This would totally fit. And I'm not expecting any of these characters from these other PlayStation series to be playable whatsoever, especially after Insomniac Games stated back in 2018 that they don't tend to do other people's IPs when asked about doing a Sly Cooper game. But this was mentioned roughly a year before the studio was acquired by Sony, officially making Insomniac part of the PlayStation Studios family. And seeing as they went ahead and acknowledged these PlayStation IPs as canon to the Ratchet and Clank universe, why not use the opportunity to go all out with the canon and expand into this much larger PlayStation universe? And when you think about it, Ratchet and Clank would then become, essentially, the PlayStation version of Kingdom Hearts, which explored various Disney franchises like Pirates of the Caribbean, Monsters Inc., and heck, they even threw in Final Fantasy on occasion. Look, I get it, Square Enix owns both game series, so why not? Now, I've never touched a single Kingdom Hearts game, and probably won't, because that is a lot of games to play through and try to understand, which I simply do not have that much time for, to be honest. But my point is, if there was ever going to be a proper crossover between Ratchet and Clank, Sly Cooper, and Jak and Daxter, this would be the perfect way to go. Sly, Jak, and whoever else they decide to throw in don't necessarily have to be playable, as just like in the Kingdom Hearts games, they can accompany our duo without interfering with the established gameplay formula the Ratchet and Clank series have been known for. Yeah, I know, it would suck that these other characters would not be playable, but I would very much appreciate this approach over what PlayStation Move Heroes did. Man, do I wish things were different. But at the end of the day, this is just a fun idea on my part, and really, it's up to Insomniac Games if they want to make things that crazy for the next game. And besides, it'll be a while before we even begin hearing anything about the next Ratchet and Clank game, especially with Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine still in the works. But in the meantime, what do you guys think about this idea for the next Ratchet and Clank game? Do you think it could work, or do you think it'd be a bit too crazy? Be sure to leave everything down in the comments section below. Also be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell for more Ratchet and Clank and PlayStation content coming your way real soon. As always, I've been Blue Knight. Thank you all so much for watching and for the constant support. I'll see you guys back here next time.
What?